Welcome to the Coach's Corner podcast, a platform where we get together to share our experiences, industry insights, and create discussions that challenge our own biases and thought processes behind everything that we do. This podcast is brought to you by our partners, Iron Edge, who are industry leaders in high-performance strength training equipment in Australia. If you're after any strength training equipment and spot something of interest, I'll then connect with the team over at Iron Edge and I'll see if I can snag you a better deal. Now over to the podcast.
Episode number 3.
Episode number 3, Coach's Corner podcast. Welcome, Bonnie Deas.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How do you pronounce the last name?
Yeah, that's
Deas.
a great question.
It is Deas?
Deas, yeah.
Yeah. Well, welcome on. Obviously, a favourite of the gym pretty quickly with your two brothers around, Kyra and Sonny. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and why you're here today.
Yeah, so I play basketball for Frankston Blues. I just came off my first WNBL pro contract for Sydney Flames. And yeah, I'm back home for a little bit before I go off to college in August at Arkansas University. And yeah, just wanted to get better in the gym.
Yeah, awesome. So you came to the gym a few times last year, just sort of rolling in and out when you were down. Sonny and Kai just said they had a sister that played a bit of basketball. And at the gym we had no idea of basketball at the time. I don't think we had any basketball athletes.
It's been a recent rise, yeah.
Yeah, been a really recent rise in basketball athletes, and it's been really humbling to say the least. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. And like I said, you guys were rolling in last year. Sorry yourself when you were down. And yeah, the boys have been fantastic. So when you were coming down, I had no idea who you were. I had no idea of what you were doing. Like I said, we had no idea of basketball. Yeah. So take us through sort of that upbringing, and obviously you're a Langwarrin girl to start with.
Yeah. And
then moved up to the Sydney Flames up there. Take us through your sort of upbringing, your childhood, and where things sort of kicked off for you.
Yeah, so I started basketball when I was 6. I used to go to St. Jude's primary school, and I just started then. And then Kaya played for Frankston Blues, actually. So he played a bit of ball growing up. And my best friend did too. So then I started playing for Frankston Blues when I was 7. So I was playing with them for maybe 10, 11 years before I got a scholarship up to Canberra at the AIS, and I lived there for 2 years away from home when I was 16. So that was a pretty cool experience. And then I got my first pro contract with Sydney Flames and moved up to Sydney straight from Canberra, and then came back down.
Awesome. And before you went up there, I did hear you were quite the footballer too.
Yes. Yeah, I did used to play football for Langy.
Yeah.
I really loved football. I played from grade 5 till year 9. And I had an injury, which was unfortunate. And I had to, decide between two. My body couldn't take both sports because both sports come with a lot of programs, a lot of teams. So, I had to quit one of those, and I quit footy. So.
And you went to Rowville?
Yeah.
Was that for football or basketball?
Well, initially I was going to do both, but I just ended up doing the basketball program.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Because you went to Rowville
as
well, didn't you?
I went to Rowville as well, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
So how did you make that decision, with basketball and footy?
Yeah, it was tough. I had to whip out a pros and cons list.
Yeah.
And just write down everything. And I think at the time basketball was presenting a lot more opportunities. I'd already been interstate and made higher teams in basketball. So I think that kind of swayed my decision making. And I just really enjoyed basketball. So and I always knew that if I really wanted to, football was a lot more easier to transition to from basketball. So I could make that transition maybe later. But honestly,
why is that, do you think? Why do you think that?
Well, I think initially, girls hadn't been playing football for a long time. So the skill set wasn't there. But now seeing the draft, last year's draft, which was my age's draft, it's honestly insane. And I don't think it's going to be that easy to transition anymore because the skill set and the girls are putting in the work, and the game's just developing so much. So it's really good to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So obviously now down in Melbourne at the moment.
Yep.
You've been at the gym with us for probably, I'd say, the past 4 months, I'd have to say.
Yeah, I think 4.
Yeah. So Sydney Flames, how'd that all come about? How'd that opportunity arise? Because obviously, like I said, we haven't worked too much with basketball. We've had to educate ourselves a lot after all this has sort of been happening. How'd that experience come about, and what's the process with getting on a pro list?
Yeah, so I was at the COE at the time, and I wasn't actually quite sure if I wanted to go pro before college. So I kind of thought to myself that I wanted to stay at COE, kind of develop there because it's a very similar college type environment. But then I spoke to one of my coaches, and Jenny Screen, and she helped me make that decision and come out of my comfort zone. And, you know, she said, no, you're ready for pro. And yeah, so I had a couple calls with some pro teams, I think about maybe 4. And yeah, I ended up speaking to Sydney, and I really loved Sydney, the coach, and, you know, the style of play they ran. And yeah, that's kind of how the decision and came up for me.
I can imagine that'll be pretty hard moving away from home. Equally as exciting, but it'll be pretty daunting having sort of you leaving your parents and your family sort of behind. I know how close you are with your brothers in particular.
Yeah.
That must have been pretty tough.
Yeah, it was pretty tough, especially at the start. When I was 16, I think at the start it was very exciting. Going to the COE in Canberra was my dream. So I think at the start I kind of didn't think about it as much, but I think week 5 it really hit me, and I was like, I just want to go home. I want to see my family. And I think the first block I didn't see my family for maybe I think it was like 3.5 months, and that was like really tough for me. But I definitely got used to it. I'm a pretty independent person, I'd like to say. So yeah, it was tough, but I'm definitely a lot used to it now, and I'm just trying to soak up the time I have with them before I go to college.
For sure.
What's involved in that decision making with going pro before college? Like, you always hear about that, and like why do people have to think about that so much?
I think it's just you get the experience of playing against athletes that have you know, already experienced college and have been playing pro for ages. So you want to like develop yourself as much as you can before you go over to the college system.
Yeah.
And I think that was for me. I definitely got so much out of my first season with Sydney. And yeah, I'm honestly so grateful that that coach spoke me out of it, staying out of COE and just kind of, you know, taking that next step to pro.
Sorry, what's COE?
COE is like the Centre of Excellence. That's at the AIS.
Yeah, I didn't know it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think obviously as well, so you were 16 when you moved up there.
Yeah.
And one thing we spoke about in the first 2 podcasts, Izzy, was having mentors and coaches to guide you through.
Yeah.
How did that, because that was huge for me. It was huge for Hayden in the last podcast.
Yeah.
What mentors did you have? How did you outsource that? How did you find the right people to help you make the right decisions?
Yeah. One of my biggest mentor was Dean Kingsman. I don't know if you remember him at Roval.
Yeah, I think he was a coach when I was there, actually.
Yeah. So he's been one of my biggest mentors.
Is he at Frankston Blues as well?
Yeah, he's at Frankston Blues. Yeah, he's my coach there. Yeah, so I had him from year 7 to year 10, and he was always there for me, constantly just checking in with me, making sure I'm on the right path, and always developing, especially my mental game. I think that's really important, something that not a lot of coaches talked about back then, and Dean was always there for me and helped me throughout so much. So I got to see him basically 5 days a week for 4 years, so that was pretty good. And then I also had 2 coaches at Frankston Blues, Karen Mitchell and Adam Kerr. They were some of my biggest mentors, especially when I was young. They really focused on developing our skill set as a youngins, and they were really influential to my career. And then David Herbert, he was one of the coaches at the COE. He was great. He really helped me with my shot. I've honestly been blessed with a lot of coaches. Guy Malloy, Jenny Screen. I've been very, very blessed. Yeah,
awesome. Because I think, like, even just speaking to the team at the gym and the other basketballs we've got around, you're definitely beyond your years in terms of maturity with how well you present yourself. And it was something that caught my attention immediately when I met you last year. So moving to the US, it's another ball game. So you've gone from Sydney, which is, to be fair, it's a 45-minute flight away.
Yep.
Now you're going to be moving halfway across the world.
Yeah.
When we had Tori Taylor and we were speaking about the university system and the college system and what that landscape looks like, you said your university or the college that you're going to is pretty up there. So run us through how that landscape's going to look.
Yep.
And what the process is while you're over there.
So I'm so excited. So I leave in August. It's a college university in Arkansas. It's in a small town called Fayetteville. And I was lucky enough to visit September last year with my mom, dad, and Sonny.
You've been over a few times, haven't you?
I've been over a few times for camps, but the one in September was my college visit. Okay. So that's when the family got to come along and see all the colleges. So that was a really cool experience, getting to bring them over across to the other half of the world. And they just basically saw everything I saw, the dorm setting, the nutrition center, the basketball facilities, the coaches. yeah, it was a really exciting experience.
And do you get to choose where you go? So do you have a preference?
Of like colleges?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went on 3 college visits, and one was in New York, Syracuse, one was in Mississippi, which is Mississippi State, and then one was in Arkansas, which is Arkansas. And yeah, I just had to weigh up and do a massive pros and cons list again, and yeah, Arkansas was the one for me, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously you're playing a lot of basketball over there. It'll be taking up a majority of your time.
Yep.
What about study-wise?
Yeah, studying. I'm going to be studying business. I haven't fully like decided if that's the one I want to study, but that's the one I'm leaning towards. The Arkansas business, they're like really good. I don't know. They have the headquarters of Walmart or something like right around the corner. So they like are really good in their business field of things. So yeah.
Because something that's definitely pushed a lot in Australia, but I mean, you have to be honest with the reality of sport and what can obviously come with that. And you definitely have to start thinking about life after sport, even at 100%. Such a young age, and setting yourself up really well for that.
Yeah.
They push that at the colleges, don't they? Like quite a bit, like the academic side of things.
So yeah, for me to go over there, I had to have a GPA score that was like higher than 2.4, I think, and mine was like 2.8. So yeah, it had to be higher than that. Otherwise, you're ineligible to go to D1 or D2 schools. So, and then also awesome. I've heard about that like when they're there, and if your GPA isn't holding like a standard, you know, they'll take you out of practice and make you study. So they're very strict on it.
Yeah. Good.
Is Arkansas Div 1 or Div 2?
Div 1. Yeah.
If you don't go down the business route, what would you do?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I always like in year 10, 11 and 12, I was like, it'll come to me one day, like what I want to do. I never like really just sat down and thought. I was just like, when I hear something and it just clicks, it'll click.
Yeah, for sure.
I've always wanted to like start my own cafe. I've always wanted to do that, but that as a side hustle. So not actually something I want to do like full time.
Shout out Prodigal.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't really
You're still
thought
so young
about it.
as well anyway. So
yeah, 100%. No, that's good. Injury wise, so you have had a setback of recent times.
Yeah.
So I think you're only probably the last 2 months, I reckon you've been battling with a foot injury.
Yeah.
Do you want to discuss with us how that come about, the process of that, the stress that's been accumulated throughout that process, and what's next? Yeah,
so I had a stress reaction in my tibia. So that was just, you know, from just doing too much loading and jumping and just training too much, overtraining. I've had a few injuries like that. So yeah, I've just been rehabbing since then, and yeah, it's a very tight rehabbing schedule because I'm trying to get back for World Cup, which is at the end of this month. So
take us through that. Take us through that trip and what that looks like.
Yeah, so we go to Portugal for 9 days for a Four Nations tournament. So it's like a pre-Worlds tournament. And then on the July the 12th, that's when we start World Cup, and we play against, then we have Mali, France and Brazil.
So do you go to the Portugal one? Is that to qualify for Worlds, or you're already in Worlds?
Already in Worlds. So we qualified last year. We won Asia Cup against China in the grand final. And then, so now we do our pre-Nations tournament, which was in Portugal, and then Czech Republic is where the Worlds is.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
So foot's traveling well?
Yeah, it's traveling well. I had my first training session last night, so pretty keen.
That's fantastic. That's really good. Really good.
So touching back on Arkansas and starting at college, what does that look like now with sponsored athletes and how that all works with players getting paid and stuff in college now?
Yeah, so now international athletes can get paid by the colleges through NIL, name, image, and likeness, which is really good because, you know, a lot of athletes, especially international ones, weren't able to get paid. So it was really hard to not live over there, but, you know, it's a great opportunity to get money now for the sport. So, it's really exciting times.
And can you get sponsored by other sponsorships coming in as well, or only get paid by the college?
Yeah, it's very difficult. To my understanding, I'm still kind of learning about it, but you can do business sponsorships when I'm back in Australia. So you can't post anything on like American soil, to what I believe anyway. This is my understanding of it. But the college can pay you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
because the crowds even at college level are massive, aren't they?
Yeah, they're crazy. I went to a football game at Syracuse, and it is just insane. Like everyone gets around it.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a whole different level over there.
Yeah,
It's
college
insane.
life would be sick.
Where's
Yeah.
Arkansas in comparison to Chicago? I'm just trying to think of trying to come up with a trip
Now
to
you're
go
testing
see
it.
Tori and go see Bonnie at the same time.
It's
Do
like-
an American tour.
Oh, I feel like Chicago's like here and like Arkansas's like there. Don't quote me though.
Okay.
It's like right next to Texas.
Yeah, it's south, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Arkansas.
south.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
south.
Near
I could head
Texas,
over.
Kansas.
Do a US trip with Kaya.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'm still really interested in this whole college system.
Yep.
Take me through what that would look like after.
After, yeah. So depends how many years you stay there, like with your degree and stuff. So like 4 or 5 years.
And obviously
then,
the goal would be to make the WNBA.
yeah. So definitely my goal is to get drafted. I'd love to get drafted to a WNBA team. And then yeah, if not, or things go a different way, I'd love to play in Europe. I think that'd be an incredible experience. I love to travel and I love to see new things. So playing in Europe would definitely be a dream of mine. And then, yeah, I can go back to the WNBL, go back to Sydney or a different team. But yeah,
Lots of options.
yeah, lots
What
of
would
options.
your draft year be in college then?
I think,
Is it like a certain year, or you can get drafted at any time? Like,
no, for the women's, you can't get drafted anytime, but the men's you can
Okay.
like leave your college and get drafted straight away. But for the women's, you can't. So I think maybe 2029 or 2028. I don't even know. It
okay,
would be
so
my
like 4 or
draft
5
year.
year process, and then you get drafted.
Yeah.
Awesome. Touching on something a little bit different now, obviously learned a lot about you and what you're up to and what the short-term future looks like for you, which is incredible. I think more or less what I'm a little bit more interested in is what sort of adversities do you face as a female athlete and the challenges that come with being a female in sport?
Yeah. I guess just for me individually, it's been injuries, and I feel like that's a lot of adversities for athletes. And just being able to, manage your body and make sure you're fueling right, not training too much. I think that's been my biggest issue, just training too much.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's definitely something I'm still learning about, especially like quality over quantity. But yeah, definitely something I'm trying to get better at, and it's probably something that led to this injury. But I think as female athletes, like nutrition especially, what you see on social media, it's having like a big impact on young girls, especially with, seeing what people eat in a day and comparing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big issue in like the women's sport era at the moment. Because obviously if you're not fueling yourself, you're doing damages to your body, and that leads to stress injuries. So I think that's one of the biggest things female like athletes kind of struggle with.
So what would you say to let's say a 14 or 15-year-old Bonnie Deas who's, being brought into this social media world and how that's portrayed on there? What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, I'd probably just like do not compare yourself. You're on your own journey. For your body, how you need to train, how you need to, and it's you versus you. You're not competing against everyone else. You're on your own journey. Competing against yourself. So that's probably what I'd say.
Great advice. So obviously touching on load management, there's be a big integration with physios, sports doctors, psychologists, nutritionists.
100%.
How do they all integrate together to make sure that you are looked after?
Yeah. At the COE, it was incredible because we had nutritionist, we had a psychologist, physios, doctors around us all the time. So we were so well looked after. Definitely something I look back on and am very grateful for. They play a massive role into it, especially like nutrition. And psychologists, they help you, figure out yourself, that your identity isn't just basketball. It's, you're a different, there's much more to life than just basketball. Mm-hmm. And nutrition, making sure you're eating at the right times and eating the right things to fuel your body. They've played massive roles into helping me get to where I want to be back on court.
It's something we talk about a lot at the gym now, especially with the big increase in the youth that we're getting. We're having members sign up as young as at 11 now.
Wow.
And they are identifying a lot of the time as someone who plays that sport, whether it be a netballer or I'm a basketballer, without factoring in that they are a human being first with feelings and emotions. And
when it gets taken away.
100%. With a lot of the ACL stuff we're seeing, with a lot of the young girls we've got at the gym at the moment, it is important to reinforce the fact that they are a person first, and they're not sort of being identified as being that sports person. Yeah,
and I think it takes them till an injury to realize that when it's taken away, that's when they're like, oh my gosh, like, who am I? Like, and, you know, you get really worked up in your head. I know for me, when I had my injury when I was 15, I literally just saw myself as a basketball player. That's it. But until it got taken away, I had to, you know, find other passions and learn more about myself. And I think that's when I discovered new things that I loved and I still love to this day. And I think it's a lot easier now when I get injured to, you know, find passions in other things and just shift my focus away from the court.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Fantastic.
And obviously we come from like the physical preparation space and stuff, and seeing you in the gym and getting after it, like it's awesome for us to see, like even the level of what like you train at. What do you think, firstly, do you think there is any disparity in terms of how women are getting the opportunity to get in the gym early in terms of young athletes? And what do you think could be better in terms of that space?
Yeah, I think I was very lucky because at Rowville, they get us in the gym really early.
Yeah.
So I started gym when I was in year 7 and we had Rise Health internships, internees or whatever that word is. Those people like helping us out and, you know, just teaching us about the gym. I know for year 7 and 8, we didn't lift real heavy, but they taught us the technique and were always watching us and making sure we were doing the right technique and stuff like that. So I was just really blessed to be in programs and in situations that helped me in the gym. And I've just really loved the gym ever since.
So if you're not fortunate enough to be in those programs, because Rowville, there's very rare you're going to come across a school like that.
Yeah.
So if you have, obviously, the rep system here would be, the governing body will be Frankston Blues.
Yep.
What steps do you think they're taking to ensure that the physical preparation space is being met?
Especially like young women, training.
I think definitely in like rep teams, it's definitely not, from what I've seen and heard, taken seriously enough. Athletes need to start young and get in the gym, not super young, but they need to make sure that they're rehabbing their body. Well, not rehabbing their body, but doing exercises that are preventing injuries. I think coming to somewhere like PKHQ is a great space, and having internships and you guys and coaches around them to, you know, just educate them on what they need to do in the gym is so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's something we're seeing a lot more of. Like, there's a lot more clubs, especially at the grassroots level, investing in their performance and whatnot. But I definitely think I agree. It could be something that could be done probably a little bit earlier and probably taken a little bit more seriously. Yeah. But it just comes with time, continuous education, more 100%. People like yourself spreading a good message. Would you have anything to add on to that, Izzy?
No, you can see even with athletes like Bonnie, like the ones that have taken it seriously from a young age, like the physical difference that they can bring to a game, and even reducing things like you said, like with your stress injuries and stuff. It's massive, and we can definitely see it with the young females that we see coming in the gym. If they haven't been exposed to that, then they get their first big injury. Yeah. It's just educating them about what the gym can do for them. So it's good. It's good to see places like Rowville and stuff doing that, but I think as a whole, like these rep basketball clubs and stuff, I think it still needs to catch up in terms of integrating this sort of stuff. It is getting there, but it still has a little while to go.
It's hard with a lot of sport. Like, it's so focused on the skill itself.
Yeah.
Can you put the ball in the ring? Can you kick a football? Can you hit a cricket ball without focusing on the physical qualities?
Yeah.
It is something that, you know, I'm a cricketer. I speak in the cricket world all the time. Can imagine soccer would be extremely, extremely similar, without focusing on the physical demands of the game and getting them moving better early in the gym as soon as we can.
Yeah.
So obviously at Rowville, it's not a traditional high school system. How does that differ in terms of the programs that they implement there?
Yeah, so obviously you have each individual sport, whether it's soccer, basketball, cricket, golf they even have. Each week you will train your sport 2 or 3 times, even more sometimes for the younger age groups. When you're 7, 8, 9, then 10, 11, 12, you got your VCE studies and subjects that take over a little bit. But one time per week you'll be in the gym, as Bonnie was saying, and you'll be completing proper like junior athletic development program. So it will be sometimes in the gym completing, if you're in the younger age groups, working on movement competency, learning how to navigate the gym, body weight sort of exercises, and then as you progress, more resistance training, plyos, and then some athletic development as well on the courts or field that they have access to. So you'll do change your direction, speed, deceleration work, learning jumping and landing. So it's pretty good. Like all the stuff we sort of drill in at the gym, but they're starting it from a year 7 program all the way through to year 12. So by the time you're you're finishing high school, at least you have a grasp of how to navigate the gym and know the basic movement patterns in terms of all these things we were talking about. So I think it sets up these youth athletes really nicely, especially if they're going into elite settings like Bonnie. They're ready for it, and they understand when they're chucked into these gym programs that they know what they're doing straight away, which is really good.
Yeah, fantastic. I think just on, obviously, the topic of soccer, first thing that comes to mind is the Matildas. And the recognition that they've been getting of recent times, and the movement into more participation from female athletes in particular. What do you want more from your sport in terms of, I guess, the same sort of story as the Matildas?
Yeah, I think we're kind of on the up with the college side of things, with Caitlin Clark just coming out of college, the college system, and she's really sparked an interest across the whole world in the basketball world, because she's incredible talent. Do you know Caitlin Clark?
No. No. Do you?
Nah,
Oh.
shame
Really?
on us.
Really?
Shame on us.
No, well, go on.
Okay, maybe not as much as I thought she did, but no, yeah, I think it's really exciting what the Matildas and what's happening in that sport, and I'd love that to happen. I think with WNBL, we've actually just changed,
Like governing bodies or something? Or?
yeah, we've like changed our like franchise a little bit.
Okay.
The people who run it, so that's really exciting, and the payment for players is a lot better, and how we're getting looked after as players is a lot better. So that's really exciting for the Australian female basketball anyway. So
Are most of them full time?
yeah, most of them I think so, full time. Yeah.
Your teammates and stuff, like, were they working part-time jobs, or were they full-time WNBL?
Two were working another job.
Okay.
So not all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again, like, it's a gap that still needs to be better. Like,
Yeah.
you're playing in the top league for
100%.
Australia. Like, why are they working another job? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We had a girl come into the gym last week.
Yep.
We went and done an ACL presentation at the Western Port Steelers.
Yep.
And one of the coach's daughters came to the gym. She was only 14, I think. And she was asking, "Oh, has Bonnie Deas come here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like,
Yeah.
what is it?" And then, but what I'm trying to say is that you never really understand the impact that you're actually having by coming on these podcasts, going and doing what you're doing, a lot of the media stuff that we've obviously seen with all Frankston, and the actual difference that you can make. Obviously, the Matilda is on such a larger scale, but even you just doing what you're doing and being yourself, and the infectious personality that you've got is doing such incredible things for the game.
Oh, thank you.
And you wouldn't even be able to see it.
No,
you wouldn't be able to measure it. And I thought that was really cool that she came into the gym, because you were just Kyra and Sunny's sister, and then you were coming in 2 or 3 times a year when you were down last year. I'm like, yeah, come in. She moves well. She speaks great. Until I actually, over the last few weeks or last few months, really dove into your sport, what you're actually doing, the impact you're having. I started following Frankston Blues on Instagram and the reels they're putting together of you, and you'd be making an incredible difference to young female athletes. So yeah, just keep doing what you're doing in that space.
Thank you very much.
What's just to ask another question? What's, in terms of like a youth athlete or a youth female athlete listening to this podcast, and they're aspiring to make it to the level you're playing at, what does your sort of training week look like, and what you're doing?
At the moment, it's a little bit different with being injured. But what I would usually do is that from my past injuries, I'm very cautious on making sure I'm not loading every single day. So loading, jumping and running. So I'll have 2 days a week where I'm off legs. So maybe like on a Wednesday and a Sunday, depending if I'm in season. But yeah, I'm generally doing gym 3-4 times a week. And then I'm on court maybe 4-5 times a week. So that depends on team trainings and individual sessions. But yeah, just making sure that I'm definitely in the gym, definitely having those 2 days off where it's completely off legs, no running, no jumping. And then 4 to 5 like court sessions a week.
So would that mean that off leg day, would that include lower body lifting as well?
Depends. If I'm doing a lower body session, I'm not doing any like plyometrics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I generally try and do like Pilates on those days, or just really focus on my recovery on those days.
Yeah. Because I guess, like, It's that conversation where you're doing a lot of jumping and landing and stuff in the sport, or even with the netballers, like, do we really need to be doing a lot of plyometrics with them, because they're getting a lot of that already from their sport? Probably going to benefit a lot from that heavy lifting and that power development stuff. But it's interesting to hear that the programs are essentially exactly the same, based off whether you are a novice athlete just in a local setting and come into a facility like ours, or if you're on a pro contract and doing what you're doing, the programming systems and principles are exactly the same. Nothing really changes
they're
based
pretty similar.
off the context of the person straight in front of you.
Because we often have that conversation because we go out and do these presentations, we call it like project prevention, and we go and present to like young athletes and stuff. Because if you look at someone like you, you're training so much, but what do we need to do to be able to train so much? We need to have the capacity to train that often. So we talk to them about how they can be in the gym with their heavy loading to increase that capacity to play more and train more without getting injured. So it's interesting you talk about that, because if you don't have that 3 or 4 days in the gym, how are you going to be on the court 5 days a week? Exactly. You know what I mean? To tolerate that and not be injured. So
100%.
No, it's good.
And they're always asking, what program are they on? What program's Harry Di Mattia on from Collingwood? What program is Bonnie Deas from?
I think it's going to be something so different to everyone else.
100%. It's the exact same. 100%. I think, I guess in closing, you've been a super asset to the team the last few months, and it's been incredibly humbling, I guess, and increasing our understanding more of the sport. We've got, how many basketballs we've got now? I reckon since you were there last year, I reckon we've got a good 10 to 12 or so.
That's so good.
A lot from the Frankston Blues, obviously got all the
and
girls.
a lot signing up at the moment. Probably
awesome.
the biggest sport we have rising at the moment, I reckon.
I think we signed up 3 Western Port players last week. 2 unfortunately have got knee injuries and requiring some rehab, but I think overall the sport is definitely growing. I'm not sure if it's just what we're seeing in our space, because we're heavily dependent on local football. That was sort of what we were doing for the first part, in the majority, for the first sort of 8 or 9 years. But now a lot more soccer, a lot more netball. It's really netball and basketball is what we're seeing a huge growth in.
Awesome.
And a lot of female athletes as well.
And majority of them, to be fair, are female. So it's incredible to see.
Last year was a lot more males, and this year now I walk in the gym and there's a lot more females.
Yeah, you probably noticed it. Which is awesome. We love it. And to be honest, like, they're so good to work with. Like, they're like sponges that actually, they want to learn as much as they can. Maybe because they haven't been offered that in the past too, and now they have the opportunity. So it's really good to see.
Yeah, no, fantastic. So I think keep doing what you're doing. You bring an incredible amount of energy to the room. And like I said, you don't know the impact that you're having on the others around you. From grassroots level, they're all obviously jumping on social media and seeing what you're doing. So don't change anything. Keep being yourself. And we wish you nothing but the best for college. And we'll try and organise a trip over, Izzy.
Yeah, 100%. Arkansas, let's go.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for having me, guys. It's been great.
That's right. Good job. Thanks, Bon.
Thanks, Bon.
Thanks for tuning in to the Coach's Corner podcast, brought to you by Iron Edge. Please share around and don't forget to hit the follow and subscribe button. We'll see you next time.